Good day, everyone. Trust you're doing well today. So let's see what's happening in the market for today. Rather, what happened yesterday? Yesterday, the all-share index closed at 242,454 points. Now, the daily change for yesterday fell by 164.55 points. As at yesterday, Monday, market capitalization was at around 156.52 trillion. So basically, it dropped by 106 billion. And the top gainers for yesterday were Legend, Trans Express, Avacap, Dangote Sugar, Livestock. The top losers for yesterday were RT Briscoe, FTG Insure, Mark Nichols, UPL, NEM Insurance, NGX Group, PZ. Now let's analyze some trending stocks. The first one for us to analyze is Zenith Bank. So let's see what's happening in Zenith Bank. Um, well, so basically, after what seemed like the revival of NGX around July last month, right? Zenith Bank appeared to recover, but guess what? It didn't gain strength. The reason it didn't gain strength is simple. Smart money refused to come to the market. However, I told people in my groups to buy because I was actually envisioning smart money, that's institutional buyers, to come to the market. But basically, all of this volume I'm seeing right now, especially from July 26th, right? When the market seems to recover for Zenith Bank, it just shows to me right now that no one single smart money came to this Zenith Bank market. The reason is not far-fetched. The Dangote, refinery IPO effect. So actually, there was some accumulation by smart money, right? Especially when you see here, there was some strong accumulation. This was what I was actually capitalizing on, thinking now that some smart money have come to accumulate, right? Some other smart money might also come to like still buy in before we, retail investors, we, start entering and kind of enjoying this markup, right? That was my initial thoughts. However, I soon realized that after this accumulation by smart money, indeed the markup began. However, we still needed smart money to buy some more to push this market up, because guess what? We retail investors, our money can't really, push this market. Our money is just like a drop of water in an ocean. So it really won't move the market. We need, for good uptrend, we need smart money. We need institutional buyers. So actually, these activities were just, ambitious, retail investors trying to like buy into Zenith Bank, especially when you hear just how good and how long-term focused Zenith Bank is to lots of investors. So, mostly retail buyers just kept buying. And this is the effect for that trade. We retail buyers were the one actually pushing Zenith Bank all these times since last month. So no one institutional buyer, aside accumulation from this point, right? No one institutional buyer actually came to this Zenith Bank market. So what is likely to happen is this. Currently, Zenith Bank will keep getting weak because at this point, it just seems that, we retail buyers, we are now tired. Especially this candle here. This candle means some retail buyers began to like take profit, because since they see that this thing is not moving like they thought they would move, right? Some smart retail buyers, right, they began to take profit. As they were taking profit, others were even entering. That's the meaning for this candle, this doji candle here. Some retail buyers, they were taking profit while more were still coming. But then again, if you realize something, the value was small because it's retail participation, no smart money here. So we are the one just trading against ourselves for now when it comes to Zenith Bank stocks. And the sad news is it's still going to continue, right? When I say it's still going to continue, I mean Zenith Bank is still really going to fall further. is just so glaring, because right now what seems to be happening right here is sideways movement, which happens to be, consolidation. So eventually it's still gonna come down. Do not buy the dip. All right. So in my group, I usually advise this: do not buy the dip. Let's just wait for a clear, momentum, a new momentum that shows that, right, new, smart money is back in the market. So I will advise not to buy the dip, because guess what? When you buy the dip will keep dipping because you just don't know the bottom. But when I spot accumulation, right, and I know this is legit accumulation, that's like one signal for you to even stay take the leap of faith and start buying the dip. But right now, let's assume you buy the dip, you're thinking, nah, Zenith Bank will go up because of, people trade with emotions, thinking, Zenith Bank is like a long-term stock for most Nigerians. It won't ever, like, correct so much. You know, this kind of humbled lot of people. It will humble a lot of people. So it will correct. It sure will correct. Now the ASI effect. It will correct. So yeah, that's that for Zenith Bank. Now let's look into charms and see what's going on in charms. So charms have actually been attracting a lot of eyes lately, because guess what? As at May, charms began um, an uptrend, and charms was part of the stocks that actually didn't correct with the ASI, as at when correction started back in June. Now guess what? I realized something, right? So I was quick to realize, that what was happening was many people were selling, right? Many retail investors were selling, but especially when you see this, right, it means many retail investors were selling. However, a smart investor was defending this, this area. That was why you see this long volume, meaning a lot of sales occurred that day. However, a smart money kept accumulating everything they were selling. Like, it's just like we investors, right? We retail investors, we were thinking due to ASI correction, right, charms was going to fall as well. But no, that wasn't the case. As we retail investors were dumping, just one smart money was steadily absorbing every sales we were trying to throw at the market. Only that smart money kept buying. Guess what? The smart money bought. I realized it, and I told people in my Telegram community to just buy as well, because I see people dumping, but we just need to buy. So it just turns out that because of this activity here, charms did not correct along with the ASI back in July. At some point, I told some people to buy on Naira Land. I had a post there, right? So telling people to buy, but I just don't feel the need to convince them enough. Based on what I had seen so far, because you can't just convince people. So I was just like, let me focus with my core members in my community, right? My Telegram community. So we aired charms, right, and rode from this place down to this place, right? But something happened. So what happened was that due to the fear in the market, as at when the correction was actually going on, people refused to buy, because what this smart investor was thinking was, now that he has accumulated and defended this position, he needed retail investors to actually buy some more as well to kind of push it up. But if you realize something, he was kind of trading flat, and no smart money was actually bold enough to like still come you know add up to the effort of this very smart money, right? So everybody, the market was just trading on fear. Fear was at its peak. So a lot of money was not made in this trade. So eventually, when it got to this point, when I realized that, this guy, is leaving. So I had to like tell, my core members in my, Telegram community, like, we just gotta leave. We just have to leave because this guy is tired. he has noticed that, the market did not go according to how he predicted. So I just had to like tell my core members we just have to leave. We didn't make much, but we just have to like protect our capital. We just have to like leave. We just have to like take our leave. At this point right now, there's nothing going on in charms. It will take a new smart money to like defend, this area and hope for, another uptrend. But due to, current ASI situation, I don't see that happening. So we just took the little we made around here and left, because I made that call. Was it not last week? Sometimes last week. I made that call last week. So yeah, that's that for charms. For now, nah, I don't see anything good happening in charms. It's just gonna obey ASI for now. So next, let's check out MTN and see what is happening in MTN. So MTN, clearly MTN situation is a situation of basically, let me say, hope is the last to die, right? So that's what MTN, that's how MTN is trading right now. Hope is the last to die. Because guess what? During the first correction, MTN didn't really correct much. It dropped, but not as much. Because here's the thing. The grand story MTN, has amongst Nigeria, right? You're hearing MTN stock is like a one-stop shop stock, right? Whereby, MTN offer a lot of, services and they're making profit. Currently, the story in MTN stock, it follows that pattern. However, here's actually what is going on in MTN. So during the correction that started, that's the first correction that started in June, right? What I noticed is this: smart money, we are taking profit. More smart money, we are buying, right? So smart money left, smart money was entering. So it kept the stock flat, especially at this area. It kept the stock flat. So around July last month, when it seemed that ASI was recovering, right? What happened was, accumulation started, but guess what? It wasn't smart money that were doing the accumulation. It was actually retail money, investors like us. It was people like us, buying into MTN, trying to push it. Like I said earlier, right? Retail investors, we can't do much. Our money can't really move the market. We only buy stocks, up to the amount of, 10 million, 15 million, 100 million. We don't move the market. So this is us, in MTN right now. So we are trying to push MTN, but it still didn't move. It still didn't move. And smart money didn't come into this MTN market for the fear of, one, MTN was still highly priced, right? Secondly, the Dangote effect. So they didn't come. So it was we the retail investors, we are doing just trying our best to like push it and push it and push it. But eventually we got tired. We got tired. So, volume decreased. And now MTN is obeying the call of ASI. It's just now about to, correct. As at yesterday, Monday, MTN really sold off. Yeah, MTN sold off. It had about 8.4 million volume of trade that occurred yesterday. But most were actually, selling off yesterday. So let's see what's happening in Firstholdco. So if you have been following my regular analysis, right, you hear me ringing out alarm that Firstholdco, be careful. Do not buy Firstholdco as of now because it's in the overbought region. And it just seems to me right now that, Femi Otedola, has been the one pushing more of these stocks, right? Because it was in the news over the weekend that, Chairman Femi Otedola increases, stake to near 30%. So Otedola have been the one, pushing more of these stocks rather than more of retail activities. So you gotta be careful because Firstholdco is in the overbought region, and as I'm making this video right now, today is Tuesday 18th, right? It just seems to me that although I've been warning a lot of investors, especially the greedy ones, thinking it will still go up, right? So what is technically going on right now is there is no volume, right? For basically there's no buy volume, because in my last video I said we need fresh money from especially smart investors to like push Firstholdco higher. But technically what is happening right now, that fresh money is not coming. Even the retail investors that are pushing Firstholdco, right, alongside Otedola, they are tired. We are all tired. In fact, I didn't tell my group members to buy Firstholdco because I saw this coming. Think of it like mini IPO. So I didn't recommend Firstholdco to my core members in my Telegram group, right? So because I saw this coming, it's not for a long time. So technically, right now, retail investors are tired, so it's really gonna correct, right? But then again, if just one smart money just decide to like, let me buy some Firstholdco, right? Guess what? The story might change. But as at now, what I see is tiredness, and technically it won't just drop at once. Now, what will happen is consolidation. It will just start consolidating. Now, after some time, it will just obey to ASI and correct. So technically, that's what is happening. Not to mention that smart money didn't get into Firstholdco. Actually, smart money did alongside Otedola, but they have left. They left and started distributing to retail investors. Although when that distribution was occurring, I kind of notified some people in my group who had Firstholdco, especially people who kind of went against my recommendation and still bought, right? I still sounded the alarm that distribution is happening, or meaning smart investors are now selling, so you might as well think of getting out, because not too much smart money in this market, right? So this is them, right? This is more of accumulation right here, right? So the distribution started here. This was where the distribution started. Basically, Friday 24th of July 2006 was when distribution started on Firstholdco. So I started ringing out the alarm in my Telegram group that distribution has started though, right? So if you went against my advice not to buy Firstholdco, you might as well get out now, because I see smart money leaving. So this huge volume further goes to actually validate my suggestion that smart money are leaving this market. So right now what we're saying are retail investors trying to hold on, thinking it will still go up. But it is what it is. Sometimes people trade with emotions. You can't just you can't stop that. So let's quickly take a look at the share index and see how it's actually performing. Well, the share index, it keeps getting weak every day, and as of today the weakness continues. Share index weakness continues, no support yet. And like I said in my last video, I'm not in the habit of guessing support. No, I don't do that. Basically, I'll just wait and see and confirm momentum, right? So that momentum suggests smart money accumulation in basically banking stocks, consumer goods sector stocks, and other index as well. So when I notice momentum like that, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, something seems to be happening. But right now, ASI is getting weak and weak. So that's all I have for today. By tomorrow, we'll see what else is happening in some stocks, and and with ASI as well. So you have a nice day. Bye for now.